This is day 4. Today we'll be baking our third loaf. This dough has undergone some extreme fermentation. With this method of very low inoculation of starter, you can push fermentation for many days, sometimes even up to a week. That will enable you to have the dough handy and ready to bake with just a few hours' notice, which is really handy for the working person. Good morning. This is our third loaf. There's 750 grams approximately left here in the container. It's been kept in the refrigerator at around 38 degrees Fahrenheit, and this is the 4th day. So it's been fermenting 4 days. I'm going to go ahead and warm this dough up a bit. I'll put it in this other Cambro container here, and I'll put it in the proofer, which is set at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, because my own kitchen is pretty cold. So let me put it into the proofer. I'm going to let it proof for about 2 or 3 hours. We'll see how long it takes. It's at about 68 degrees Fahrenheit now, and it's been in the proofer for 3 hours. So we'll go ahead and make up our loaf. We'll do a pre-shaping first. The dough's pretty sticky. Each day that the dough is in the refrigerator, it will be just a little bit more fragile. So make sure that you handle the dough gently to avoid tearing the gluten. This is my new way of shaping a boule. I really like using this method. The dough seems to spring up higher in the oven. So this is just the first shape. I'll be back in about 20 minutes to do a final shape. So it's been 20 minutes. I'll do a quick rounding up and I'll put it in the banneton. I'm using some semolina flour as dusting flour. Sprinkle a little bit on top, and then we'll let this proof. I'll be putting it back into the proofer at 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So it took about 2 hours to do the final proof, and I'll use a little semolina flour on the parchment paper so it won't stick. Let's turn this out here. Dust it off just a little bit. I'm going to do another water glaze on this loaf as well. I'll just glaze it lightly. Now we'll just do a real simple score again. I'll just add a little bit of extra on the one side. Wow, that came out great. Pretty loaf. Okay, we'll turn that around. Looks like this loaf got a little dark as well. All of the loaves got darker than I expected, so I'm thinking that the starch broke down and there were plenty of sugars available in the dough. This one came out really nice. When it cools, I'll slice it and we'll see what the interior looks like. This is the last loaf of the 3 loaves that we did to experiment with gluten modification by long fermentation. This bread is 73% hydration, and this particular loaf has been fermented for 4 days. You can see that even after 4 days of fermentation, with very little handling and dough folding, that the bread still comes out with a very nice brown crust. However, the longer the dough ferments, the tendency is towards the crumb being a bit on the gummy side. So take notice of how many days you're fermenting the dough, and when you reach the point where you think it's a little too gummy, then pull back a day and don't ferment any longer than that day.